And for our final story for this edition of the Rolling Stone, did you know, and if you didn't, I mean, there's a lot going on, but in a piece of actual genuine good news, Poland effectively outlawed all abortions. For me, that is great news. That should be great news for everyone because, of course, that is what we want. We want everyone to have. Everyone has the right to life. We want governments to recognize that right everywhere. Now, this is from the New York Times headline: Poland court ruling effectively bans legal abortions. A constitutional tribune in Poland ruled on Thursday, that would be October 22nd, that abortions for fetal abnormalities violate the country's constitution, effectively imposing a near total ban in a nation that already had some of the strictest abortion laws in Europe. The debate over a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy, a divisive issue in a staunchly Roman Catholic country, mirrors the bitter polarization of a society caught between traditional religious values and more liberal ones. In the ruling, the tribunal's president, Julia Przyłębska, said that allowing abortions in cases of fetal abnormality legalized eugenic practices with regard to an unborn child, thus denying it the respect and protection of human dignity. Because the Polish constitution guarantees a right to life, she added, terminating a pregnancy based on the health of the fetus amounted to a directly forbidden form of discrimination. She is completely and absolutely right in that. 100%. Because if you allow abortions for babies who have abnormalities in them, okay, or on them from conception, then basically you are saying that you are allowing eugenics to happen. It's not called eugenics, and it's not billed as that, but that's what it is at the end of the day. That's what it is at the end of the day. There's no getting around that. And I love, of course, you have to love how the New York Times weasels its way through its stories. The debate over a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy, i.e., kill her own baby, a divisive issue in a staunchly Roman Catholic country, mirrors the bitter polarization of a society caught between traditional religious values and more liberal ones. I'm sorry. Saying that you can kill another human being is not a liberal value. It is an anti-human principle. And again, to go back, we've talked about this before, gang. And I've had this debate several times on Twitter. Don't usually do it now because people either just block me or mute me. But for me, it always came to a very simple question. First of all, I think the philosophy is just there for me. Biologically, the baby is a human person from the moment of conception because of unique human DNA, etc., etc. Metaphysically speaking, philosophically, metaphysically speaking, the baby has to be a baby from the very beginning, because if the baby is, if the fetus, okay, let's just use that term, if the fetus is non-human and then somehow becomes human, somewhere here in the middle, you have to have a transubstantial event, meaning that the entire substance of the fetus has to change. What was non-human has to become human. Okay? Now that is a transcendent event. Because of course, people might say, oh, well, the ability to talk, the ability to reason, etc., etc. Well, a newborn, can't talk. A newborn can't reason the way we would say we can reason. A newborn can't walk. A newborn can't take care of itself. So people who say, well, it's just a symbiote, it's a parasite in the mother's body. Guess what? A newborn can be classified as a parasite because if you leave him in the middle of the floor, he's going to die. He is completely and utterly dependent on you, mom and dad. Not just for his well-being, but for his life. That's it. So, all of the things that people say, about babies, fetuses before they're born, it also mostly holds true directly after they're born. for the first couple of months after they're born. So that dime store lawyering between, but before the baby is born, before the fetus was born, and after, before it's born, it's a fetus and it's not a person and it can be aborted, and then after it's born, obviously then it's a person, and then you can't kill it, even though some people like Peter Singer say actually, well, ethically you can kill it even after he's born. That doesn't hold water. It doesn't hold water. And then again, if we're rating personhood based on what you can do, then a newborn baby can't do any of those criteria. He can't do that list of criteria either, meaning that he's not a person either. So unless we want to go that route, we have to say that the baby was a person from the very beginning. Because again, and even then, even if the newborn baby isn't a person, even if you say that he isn't a person, and he's only a person when he learns to take care of himself, he can learn to talk, he can learn to walk, he can learn to reason for himself, then how does he even have the capacity to do that? That's what I'm saying about a transubstantial moment. Something that's not human becomes human, and therefore gets the ability to talk, to reason, etc., etc., etc. Okay? What is that moment? When does it happen? What occurs there? How does it occur? No one can actually answer these questions. And so, this ruling by Poland's tribunal is absolutely right. However, there was a tweet in response to this by Jill Filipovic, who is a feminist and an author and a lawyer. Oh, goody goody. She also writes for the New York Times and has a weekly column for CNN. She wrote a book called The H-Spot, The Feminist Pursuit of Happiness, as if the pursuit of happiness for feminists is somehow different. Well, actually, no, I take that back. The pursuit of happiness for feminists is different than for the rest of us, because feminists are operating under completely different first principles when it comes to philosophy and metaphysics. But anyway, Jill Filipovic, feminist author and lawyer, had this to say about this ruling in Poland. She tweeted out the New York Times story, and she said this: "This is so cruel. And what happens in a Catholic, quote-unquote, pro-life nation? Poland has totally banned abortions. Abortion was already mostly outlawed, but now even women pregnant with fetuses who will never survive or only live in horrific pain can't terminate." This tweet, my friends, is a brilliant insight into the leftist mentality. It really is. Jill Filipovic blessed the world. Well, maybe not exactly blessed, but she graced the world by showing us exactly how ideologues really see the world. Okay? So let's take this one at a time. First of all, we have the inversion. This is so cruel. Not being allowed to kill your own kid is cruel now. That is complete 1984 newspeak. That is the same as saying that freedom is slavery, war is peace, which was 2/3 of the slogan of Big Brother in 1984 by George Orwell. This is the exact same thing. Not being allowed to kill your child is cruel? No. What is actually cruel? What is actually cruel? And this is the key point. What is actually cruel here is the whole underpinning of this tweet. This tweet only survives because of the foundational idea behind it. Let me read this again. Now, even women pregnant with fetuses who will never survive or only live in horrific pain can't terminate. Really think about that for just a second. Okay, gang? Okay? Really think about that. What is she saying when she says it's cruel because even women pregnant with fetuses who will never survive or only live in horrific pain can't terminate? Want to know what she's really saying there? Want to know what Jill Filipovic is really saying? What Jill Filipovic is saying is two things, really. First of all, only people who don't have terminal illnesses or who will not live in pain have the right to life. So basically, she is actually buttressing what, I have to look up her name again because I'm horrible with names. Judge Julia Przyłębska said that allowing babies who are deformed or who are, who are basically, deformed from the moment of their conception. Something went wrong with the genetics. Those people can be killed off. It's eugenics. She is buttressing exactly what Przyłębska said would happen. Because if you are living, if you have terminal pain or you have terminal illness, then you do not have the right to life. You are a lesser person than someone else. Your common humanity doesn't factor into the equation whatsoever. Your pain disqualifies you from the brotherhood of man. That's what Jill Filipovic is saying. And even better, okay, that's just the first part. The second part of that idea is saying that people with terminal illness, people who are born deformed, like maybe you're born without any arms, people who are born with some sort of condition that means that they will be in pain for the rest of their life, she is telling you that you have absolutely no hope of having a fulfilling and flourishing life. Basically, your parents were cruel because they should have just snuffed you out like a candle the moment they found out. You have absolutely no hope of having a flourishing, fulfilling life. So what that means, if you take another step back into this idea, this means that your happiness, your human fulfillment, your human flourishing is entirely dependent on circumstances. No matter how hard you work, no matter what your attitude is towards life, no matter how much traditionally we would say, take up the cross. In today's parlance, we might say embrace the suck. I prefer the former. It's much more poetical and gets more to the truth of the issue, but use the second one if it helps you understand better. Okay? It is entirely, you can't do that. You cannot do that. Your happiness is utterly dependent on circumstances. You can't embrace your cross or embrace the suck. You cannot have a good attitude. You cannot turn your weakness into a strength. You can't do any of that. Because you are just a conglomeration of cells, and the universe, for whatever reason, decided to screw around with your life, and therefore, you are perpetually condemned to a lesser plane of existence than everyone else. That is what Jill Filipovic is saying. It is disgusting what she said about people like that and all the future people who will be born like that, because she has basically scrubbed them away of their humanity. I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of mad here. She is scrubbing them of their humanity. And what is even worse is that she says that her position is the charitable one. She's the one who cares. No, you don't. No, you don't. What you are upset about is that someone, a woman, of all people, a woman, contradicted your feminist ideology. Your feminist ideology says that women, especially, but everyone should live consequenceless lives. There should be absolutely no consequences for your actions, unless, of course, you don't say who you're going to vote for in the 2020 presidential election, in which case you can be immediately canceled like Chris Pratt. Or then, even if you try to defend him like Zoe Saldana, you're called horribly racist slurs. Okay? But when it comes to sex and ethics and everything like that, there should be absolutely no consequences in your life. That is a bedrock of feminist ideology. That is what really riled Jill Filipovic. But of course she can't say that, so she has to wrap it up in this false veneer, this fool's gold of, oh, this is just a charitable position. No, it's not. It's death cult worship. That's what this is. It is the fetishment of freedom that says anyone who gets in the way of my personal understanding of freedom and my personal understanding of happiness and my ability to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with whoever I want, and however many people, has to be eradicated, has to be erased. This is barbaric. I mean, the easy comparison would be to Nazi Germany, but it's even worse than that. This is almost animalistic. If you really sit down and think about it, it's almost animalistic. Hey, I want this. I want to keep doing this. But this thing, whatever it is, the family, a baby, obligations, duties, whatever, they are getting in the way of this, what I want. Well, just hack those away. Never mind those consequences, so I can go over and fulfill whatever in the moment desire and instinct or impulse that I have. That's what Jill Filipovic is actually upholding here in this tweet. That is what she is holding. It is disgusting, and it really brings into clarity, gang, the lines of warfare. Okay? People like Jill Filipovic, they can't be bought, bribed, bullied, reasoned, negotiated with, like Alfred says to Batman in The Dark Knight. They can't. Their ideas must be crushed. Okay? Radical, maybe? Not nice? Okay. I can live with that. I'm not saying that Jill Filipovic personally has to be crushed, but I'm saying that her ideas have to be crushed. And they must be crushed mercilessly, like you would crush a roach in your kitchen. And I better stop right there before I say something that's really going to get me into trouble, gang. So, despite our little, despite the heat there of that last little triade, I hope that you all have a safe and free weekend. Remember to dare, think, read, and write. Keep warm, and I will chat at you later. Ciao, gang.